Hello, this is Shannon of Ebonygeek45, and if you take a look at the source code page on my website, I do have information for some revisions that I did to the Hello World tutorial 2. Actually it's right here. Tutorial 2 Hello World 1. And what it has is the information of how to set up your code block, because you can't have more than one main function in a project with code blocks. And the first video I made had those instructions, and that was just too much work and it confused a lot of guys. And so what I did was I put up the instructions so that you can have your tutorial files in the same folder without worrying about the main function for each lesson bumping heads with each other, which is really what it was. Okay, and so take a look at that video, and then I have the information here as well. And I have a question for you. Did you know that the average at any number 5 times is itself? We'll be proving that in an upcoming video. So let's go ahead and hit our coding for right now though. And what we're going to be doing is how will I put that? I would say a super simple adding code. Super simple is the key word here. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get to it. And we're going to start with, we're going to do integer variables here. And my first one is going to be I1. And my second one is going to be I2, of course. And the third one is going to be I3. Okay, and you do know that this is our setup, and so we should be used to that. Without these 3 lines, this is going to be our basic setup. Okay, now we want to go ahead and start printing out some lines here. Now what we're going to do is print out the first line, and that's going to be, what is your first number? Right, okay, and I'm going to add a \n to that because I'm going to want the cursor to go to the next line, and you want to close it up with a semicolon. And this is something that I don't think we've done before. Haven't been okay, I don't think we've done it before, and so here's how it's gonna look. Okay, CN is what we're gonna call our input stream object. Okay, that's what it is, and it's always accompanied with the arrows here, and what that is the stream extraction operator. And we have our variable here. What this does is it brings input into the system from the user, and it stores it into our variable, and we wanted to store it in I1, and of course we closed up the line. So whatever the user types is gonna, that's what's gonna come into the system and be stored in I1 inside the memory. Okay, now we're gonna come down here, and our insertion operator. Okay, now we already know what an insertion operator is. And our next sentence is going to be, what is your second number? Alright, and then we're going to put the backslash in there, and we're going to close up our line of code. On our next line, we're going to do the same thing as we did in line 11, I think that is. And here, I2. Alright, now what we want to do here is bring input in from the user, from the keyboard, and we want to store it in variable I2 this time. And so it will be in the memory for I2. Okay. And let's take that down to the next line. Okay. Now what we're going to do here is something that we have done before. Okay. And equal to I3 is equal to I1 plus I2. Okay, now we did this already, and so we know that I1 is going to be added to I2, and that's going to be put in our variable or stored in our variable I3. Okay, now we're going to print our next line, and we're going to say your total is, and at that point we're going to put in another insertion operator because we want to put I3 here so that it can display the total of I1 and I2. Okay, and we're going to put another insertion operator in the line at this point. Alright, and let me bring that up a little bit. And that is our code for our super simple adding code. Okay, now let's go ahead and run this first and see if it all checks out, which it should. So save. Okay, and let's go ahead and break this down because I'm gonna see if I could skip that review for the next tutorial. So we've declared our variables here. Okay, we declared our variables here, and so what we did was we had a line of code ran, and it's saying, what is your first number? Okay, the cursor went to the next line, and it's waiting for input from the user to come into the system, and it's going to store it in I1. And so when I put this number in, which is whatever number I want to put in, then it's gonna run this line, and it's gonna say, what's your second number? And then it's gonna wait for the next line of input. And so let's put in that first number, and I'm gonna put in 22. Okay, as you can see, it's saying, what is your second number? And it's waiting for the input that the user is gonna put in from the keyboard. And right now I'm gonna put 33. Okay, now once I hit return, it's gonna add I1 to I2, and it's gonna store I3, and then it's gonna go to the next line of coding and say your total is, and then it's gonna get what is stored in I3 and put it right there after the string, and then it's gonna end the line, and the code is gonna be done. Okay, so I'm about to hit return. Okay, and it don't take long, see, and your total is 55. It's given the total. Okay, so that's pretty much the breakdown of what our code did in our simple, super simple code. And let's see. I don't think I need to explain anything else here. Okay, so I think at this point I'm going to end the tutorial and we should be able to go right into the next tutorial, which I think we'll be answering our question here. Did you know that the average of any number 5 times is itself? Okay, so what we're going to be doing is making a super simple averaging machine in the next tutorial, and I will see you then. So what I'm going to say right now is good luck and happy coding.